Welcome back, everyone. It's the Billy player himself, DMR, on the fractured cowshed. There is nothing more exciting than watching this player with the Billy on the hands. We have a lot of expectations. Hopefully Jinx can live up to them. Interesting that Sinners has not banned the Billy, because usually the name DMR immediately triggers an instant ban of that killer. And with me now for the second game of today is the wonderful one and only YouTube editor, manager, staff member, Omega caster, everything, Mathis. Welcome in.
Yeah, the jack of all trades. Hello everybody, good afternoon to you as well. I'm finally here to join you in the caster booth, and you know, I'm starting to feel like I'm at work here. Brian worked the morning shift and I'm taking the evening, and you're like the supervisor because you have to stay all day. So yeah, Sinners and Jinx, super interesting. I've been looking forward to this game the moment I saw that we had this matchup coming, especially with the Billy pick, as we're also very close to looking at the first down here. Started trying to lose DMR around the lockers, but unfortunately going to bite the dust here on the T-wall, not going to be able to play the tile. Yeah, Billy, one thing that you pointed out already is the fact that if you see DMR on the opposing side and Billy's in the pool, that should already send shivers down your spine, and teams are prone to banning Billy, knowing fully well what DMR is capable of. But interesting enough, Sinners picked Billy before in this tournament. They played Hillbilly against Eternal, and it didn't go too well, is all I'm going to say. So Jason, the killer for Sinners, ended up with 4 stages against Eternal, and guess what Dan achieved there? If you can remember.
I can, yeah. There has been a very, very huge one together with the first generator that is coming out right here, and we're also getting the notification from the background that it is our first UEG this tournament. 33 individual characters have been played, so Jason bringing in a new premiere here onto the stage. DMR struggling a little bit, but then getting Gustavo with the wonderful chainsaw attack here. It is going a little bit slower than on other teams DMR played against, so Sinners seems to have a little bit of an additional confidence compared to the other teams that are going against DMR. I'm very intrigued how they are going to play this out, because 2 stages in exchange for 2 generators is not something that we see on every usual trial against DMR, and jukes like this are also very rare. Mathis, Sinners is juicing.
Yeah, especially considering the ping difference as well. We're looking at an Arabic killer playing against a South American team. So ping here must be off the charts between both of these teams. DMR now also opting to slug, most likely trying to get back to Gustavo. The pace of the game I wouldn't even find too unsurprising or too surprising, because if I remember correctly, when they played Billy against Severance, it also went really slow at the start, but DMR was, after he's managed to get that tunnel out, he was still able to fork a Severance on 2 generators remaining, and on the other side, when Severance played Killer against the survivors of Team Jinx, Bolitar managed to end the game in a 4K on 0 generators remaining with the very notorious and popular snipe he landed on Moon at the start of the game. Maybe we'll see something similar in the upcoming trial. Would be absolutely hilarious if it happened twice to none other than Jinx. But yeah, also, I find it really surprising that Sinners ended up allowing Jinx to pick Billy here, considering how poor their performance was against Eternal when they picked it. Probably expecting, after having seen how Dan was struggling with his Hillbilly against Elysium, then Sinners probably imagined that that's going to happen against every team, but then Dan ended up forking him at 1, so that really backfired. Poor judgment by Sinners, and that might backfire here again if they just let Jinx have this killer. DMR already having performed so well and having proved themselves. Beautiful prediction there of the crouch around the corner too. And yeah, he's starting to really snowball this pressure. He's still got Gustavo on death hook if he manages to find him further down into the trial, but right now he's also being very successful in collecting these individual stages, as now SMSFR, fantastic name, gets put back on the hook. I see Gustavo knowing fully well that he cannot be found once more, because that would essentially mean he'd be eliminated from the trial. He's playing this extremely carefully. And we both know that if DMR spots just a pixel of him, he's going to lock down on that Cheryl Mason and not go for anyone else.
Now
sure
it's going to
back on Cheryl.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting question now. Who's making the next mistake, basically? We have these two injuries, the one due to the no mither. We have a good chunk of generator pressure, so whoever makes the next mistake here, if it's going to be a too long chase for the killer, potentially overcommitting to a survivor, or a survivor going down unexpectedly quickly, that's going to be a huge disadvantage, and Jason is going to take a very quick down, and DMR wants more than that, not enough to just have one slug here. DMR realizes that the survivor team is doing quite fine. We don't have an elimination yet. We don't have everyone injured. We don't have serious pressure. So it is understandable that our killer wants to get a little bit more out of this. For example, onto Bucky. I do believe that Bucky was not expecting this to hit, but Mathis pointed it out. We have Saudi Arabia towards South America, so the players that are playing here need to be really careful. They need to potentially throw some pallets early to be safe and get around the corners a little bit quicker than Bucky just did. And DMR still wants to do a little bit more. Wonderful DH coming out there by Jason. No, that is going to be the borrowed time base kit effect that is coming out. The H is here onto Gustavo in case he would be injured, but our killer clearly trying to get a straight up snipe with the chainsaw. Misses both of these survivors, so this is the chance to waste a little bit of time as both of the survivors found a pallet, but Jason then expecting that the Billy would move on, so he's unfortunately going down, and that's going to be now DMR going cross map again, trying to stop these generators. One of them is with a huge amount of progress right next to Bucky here on the tier now. Is it going to be a successful chase? DMR with the curve. Ace was expecting that. Taking it on the outside. Very beautiful read by our survivor. Fourth generator coming out. Actually, Sinners is playing this really strong.
Oh, that hit on the locker. He tries to force the picker there to allow his team to reset not just the health states but also the locations, so that DMR would lose track of where they could have repositioned to. But yeah, somehow gets M1'd while already in the locker. Must have looked pretty bad on Bucky's screen, but that's also what you love to see in these high-ping matchups. It's always ridiculous to see. It's pretty funny. Obviously not for the teams, but I find it hilarious, and so do all of you. Bucky is going to end up being picked here, and seems like the strategy of allowing or buying time and allowing his team to reset came to fruition, because DMR in the end decided to go back for the pickup, as he was not able to find any of the other survivors. Did get a look at Jason, but decided against pursuing that chase. We see SMSFR back in chase, but it doesn't look like our killer is interested in going for him, and instead is trying to just split the pressure more. He might try to go for one of the injured survivor that was just unhooked Bucky, but instead decides to pursue Jason now, splitting the pressure, going for a different strategy now that the tunnel out didn't work quite well, so instead he has to try to exert as much global pressure as possible. And we see Jason taking full advantage of this and trying to become a nuisance for DMR, forcing to be the one in chase. Meanwhile, he's hugging all the safe tiles and being like, "Oh, bro, why are you not chasing me?" Well, it's because you're hugging all the safe tiles that I can't really down you on. So there's absolutely no reason for DMR to commit to those chases, and Jason knows so fully well, and he's going to try to keep being annoying and convince DMR to follow him in the chase, but Bucky finds himself out of position here, and that is finally another down for DMR, as our survivors have 2 generators past the 60% mark, one being doubled that they will now have to leave, as that hook is relatively close to the main building. We have Gustavo already in position to unhook the survivor, but also cannot be found because he knows fully well he's still death hook, and poses a huge risk, a huge liability for his team if he does end up being found.
Also, shame on me, I called out the borrowed time earlier, but it was a "we're gonna live forever," so everyone is allowed to shame me for 5 seconds. That's enough.
Shame on you, Dyer. Shame on you, Dyer. Shame on you, Dyer.
Able to make sure that he's not going to take the snipe here, but now it's going to be such a difficult 50-50 vaulting on this pallet. Jason going down. We can see how much he was spending already on the floor, but the final generator is coming out, and I can now understand why Sinners did not ban the Billy against Jinx. We talked about it. Usually against other teams, it is definitely a must ban when you're seeing DMR on the roster of the other teams, but here Sinners coming in with an unbelievable confidence against the Billy, and especially when playing on ping, this is so great to watch. We are having an exit gate prepared as well. The other one is 50% already, and Bucky was only worth one additional hook stage, so it's not even the biggest amount of stages that we are seeing here. The line after vaulting the pallet ensures that Yuichi is going into the exit gate, and we saw the attempt to copy Zaka's DH rescue there from the previous weekend. Unfortunately, it is not going to be the move for Sinners here, but that is robbery almost, we could say, from the usual stages that we see. 6 stages on 3 individual survivors. What a result for DMR. That is going to be the darkest moment in his history books of competitive Hillbilly games. That's going to be so difficult to counter. Sinners will feel good when they're coming out on the killer side. That's going to be one hell of a challenge that we are going to witness straight after this very short break.
I was going to say that DMR swapped sides and now he's on the Survivor roster, but he's actually not playing, and you see a Survivor roster of K, Dark Moon and Mathis, unlike the previous trials where we have very much seen DMR on the Survivor side with Jason with a win condition that overall, statistically speaking, shouldn't be too difficult to achieve after a phenomenal Survivor performance by Sinners in our previous trial, only giving DMR 6 stages overall, a result that is completely unheard of for him in DBDLeague for his Hillbilly. We see a cheeky... Oh, Moon wanted to proc balance landing there and failed to do so. Now someone has to go down and... What is going on? Hello, it's a basement party! It's a party in the USA. How did that just happen? What is that? It's Moon sabotaging. That looked like a sandbag tournament where it's like, guys, I'm in the basement, don't tell anyone. And then he just walks down, yo, Billy, got some fresh meat for you, yeah? Well, that dead meat now. As Jason claims a stage off the game in a very odd manner, I want to say. But yeah, still, it's not impossible to win this for DMR's team, I want to say, for Jinx, because the last and only time we saw Jason play Hillbilly in this tournament was when he played against Eternal and only managed to get 4 stages, which, if we compare 4 to 6 stages, 6, I think, is the larger number. So, yeah, still possible that we might see an upset here and Jinx in the end win the set that they also picked. But yeah, Dyer, I think right now with how the game's going, what are your words on this?
Yeah, this was definitely one of the most questionable early games that we have seen in a while, especially on the Billy. And they are again chilling in the basement, going down right there and trying to hide there. Are they not learning is my question. Your early game just ended in a catastrophe here in the basement. And again, you are going for it. And he's also surviving way too long than he should. But this is going to mark a very dark chapter for Team Jinx. The next stage is coming out. 75% on one of the generators, 60% on another. So they are getting quite some work done, and they are making sure that the generators are not going to be forgotten here. But the strategic approach, the tactical plan on the Survivor side is really something that we need to question. And especially if K is going down next to the basement here without a rescue happening, we would potentially have 2 survivors in the basement after DS is running out. The DH was visible there, unfortunately not successful, and our Billy is expecting the pallet safe. So now, after getting rid of that survivor, he picks up. That's going to be decisive strike into generator number 2 being completed. Jinx with a recovery play, but honestly, I feel like they have to recover from their own mistakes here.
I don't think this is recoverable because Jason still has someone in the basement, and I don't think Dark is making it out alive. We finally see what's on the dark side of the moon. It's Mads going down through that DH. So I'm really trying to put all of these survivor names into one sentence for one fantastic pun. That's the best I could come up with, also because you can't really put the name Mads into anything, but Daya, I'll leave that challenge to you. Try to find a pun that works with Mads. This is the H again. Well, okay. Look, that's funny again, because K.
Yeah, I was about to say the same. K, we have the down here. Hopefully we are going to continue this. Hopefully we are able to continue this a little bit from the survivor side, now getting out of the basement. Finally, and maybe we can agree that we are not getting back into the basement, that this is going to be kind of the forbidden zone now for the survivors, where they are not trying to play around. 2 injuries here that they need to take care of. Moon is really the only one who can pull anything risky at the moment, as he is the healthy survivor. I'm not even sure if our survivor team has the time to go for the full reset here, as Jason will definitely try to enforce the elimination on 2K. We are having Moon right here. There's a pallet in reach, but it is going to be the M1. Now Dark is the healthy survivor who can potentially move in, trying to force a little bit of pressure here, but it's really looking difficult for the survivor team. And if they are losing this survivor here, it would also actually be the win condition, if I'm not mistaken, because then we are talking about the 6 stages. No, then we actually need 1 stage for the individual survivors hooked. So we need
your
a little
math
bit
is
more
right.
My math is mathing up with Mathis.
Yeah. You know, I'm having way too much fun with this set. I'm very glad that my high expectations for this match, well, I expected something different, but in the end I expected great entertainment, and that's absolutely what we're getting. As Mads also goes down here, it's somehow missing both DHs. I know it's difficult because it's ping, but still, it looks so funny seeing him go down mid-animation because the inputs just don't match up at all on screen. But it seems like our survivors may at least push it down to a 4K1 result in the end, which wouldn't be as terrible as getting 4K on 3, obviously. Jason's still trying his hardest to get all the survivors eliminated now. They're trying to get this 4K3, sort of to get revenge, I want to say, or retribution for his failed attempt of winning a set against Eternal. Also really nice attempt. He tried to down through that window, hoping that Dark was going to hug it, but Dark is a well-known 1v1 player who shouldn't fall for things like that, but almost fell for that one, however. Jason trying to cut Dark off from the potential save, doesn't want to allow any more doesn't want to allow our survivor side to stay in this trial any longer. He's playing this very carefully, not wanting to open a window of opportunity for Dark to go in for this save. And it seems like it's worked out, as Dark is now forced to run to a tile that is further away from that basement hook, as Moon retakes the generator that Dark was working on. And wait, no, okay, flashback. Moon in the first game we saw with Jinx on Billy, we saw Moon get sniped next to a hill because he couldn't avoid the chainsaw as he was running into the hill, and we just saw the exact same thing happen again. Not as far as it was, the snipe wasn't as far as it was the first time around, and it also wasn't at the start of the game. But that it happened twice is pretty funny. You know, if I had a cent for every time that Moon went down on a hill, I would have 2, which isn't a lot, but it's still weird that it happened twice. And we see Jason already eliminating the last survivor here on the ground with that, because of that Ebony Memento Mori, and he's making this extremely quick work. That game ended really quickly, didn't it? I don't think we were here for like 5 or 6 minutes.
Yeah, it was a catastrophe at the start, okay in the middle, and a catastrophe at the end, I feel like. But this is actually going to be Sinners taking the Billy set, which is incredible considering that we have DMR. And because I have no proper outro, I'm actually just going to drop a joke. YouTube comments and Twitch messages said we should have more dad jokes. So how do you call a dog with a deep voice? Ladies and gentlemen, that's a subwoofer. The subwoofer is real, and with that, we are just taking a very cringe break outro transition goodbye, saying see you in a few minutes with set number 2. Welcome back everyone to DBDLeague. We are here with the second set between Jinx and Sinners. Sinners just took the first set, the Billy, away from DMR and friends, which is already quite an upset. Let's see if the survivor team of Jinx is celebrating another basement party as in the previous trial, or if they have learned that the basement can actually be something dangerous. Mathis, what do you think?
Yeah, that may not have been the play, and also I think you kind of jinxed the set in the end of the previous trial when you made that subwoofer joke, because look at the killer we're seeing now. So couldn't transfer any better, and also with the jokes that you also pointed out that some people love, some people hate. So it's with us too. It's great minds think alike, or the German equivalent, two idiots, one thought. So. Pick whichever option you feel applies better to what Di and I are cooking up here. Very early down here, also onto Mads. The Dracula, the Dark Lord, cannot be underestimated, especially the wolf form, where he is just so much stronger. Not just because he's, first of all, it's a basic M1 killer with the double dashes, but also because of the sheer size difference. You can't really see him behind any of the tiles, and that allows the killers to go for so many different mind games that are impossible on most other killers, similar to how Chucky also operates, considering they're also both in third perspective. Dark will be the next one here hit after having avoided the dashes there quite nicely. Doesn't manage to get the Z-wall at an appropriate angle, and therefore will not be able to play it out. And Jason will just get that easy hit. It's a very early rescue. I don't think there was even 20 seconds on the hook, and they've already decided to rescue Mads, which is obviously a relatively risky play, because that allows Jason to commit to this tunnel out very quickly, and giving the survivor no hang time. Makes them sort of makes them exposed to this sort of pressure. So it's always difficult to make up your mind as the team, because either you go for those early saves, then the survivor may get a chance to run away. But if the killer is ready nearby to go back for that tunnel out, the survivor might not stand for a long time after. But also, if you let your teammate hang, then at any point the killer may return. When he gave you a small opportunity for, let's say, 5 seconds at the start, where he went to the other side of the map, but then he immediately comes back, and then the survivor's decided against saving, and then all of a sudden he's next to the hook, and he can't really go for it anymore. And we see Team Jinx opted for the first option, going for the early save, which allows our other 3 survivors to get on these generators, and Matt's making Jason busy here. But it's difficult for Mads to obviously make it to any of the tiles, considering he's injured, and the fact that Dracula is such a strong chase killer, waiting out his eruption now to apply eruption and pop on his generator, times it nicely. And yeah, we have Mads on death hook, and there's still 4 generators remaining. I was about to say it should be 3 very soon though, because we did see a good amount of pressure exerted by our survivor side. And now Jason's in a fantastic spot, because he can watch down this entire line, where you will see any survivor crossing to the unhook, while he can also camp the generator that is furthest progressed. We already see K in position, but it doesn't seem like he will be able to get this rescue just yet, and they might just let Mads die on hook here, so that Dark and Moon get ample pressure on these generators.
And this pressure is something that we really need, because especially when Mads is dying potentially with 3 survivors, your generator pressure is significantly shrinking down. So we see how our killer is holding the Hellfire. They're trying to prevent these survivors from getting the unhook. That's going to be The K not able to move in here in time. Our killer blocking the one side, and the double save is no longer possible because we had the injury being taken too early here. Very well played by our killer. That's going to be the elimination. Dark and Moon also injured survivors here, so it might not be the longest chase. Switching back to the vampire form, Hellfire is coming out, and Moon running straight into that, so it is going to be straight up the next hook stage. Dark is injured, needs to make sure that he's either staying hidden or going into the reset together with Kay, who's working on a 20% generator over there. But if Jason is playing this right, he might find himself looking forward to another 4K. The only problem is that the active generators are cross-map from our hooked survivor. That's a disadvantage.
He does have a lot in his kit that allows him to traverse the map quickly, thanks to the bat, but it just doesn't compare to the S-tier killers that we also have in our pool for this very tournament. Jason will be able to find K out of position, who barely reaches a relatively unsafe tile, and now it's really down to 50-50. I was about to say, but K plays that phenomenally, making it look like this rock has been survivor-sided all along. Gets the stun as well on ping. It is ridiculously well played here by K, extremely patient and splendid decision-making. Will find himself in chase again, I was about to say, but it seems like our sub-woof decided against pursuing the chase onto K, knowing fully well that he would just get juiced again otherwise, and he's instead trying to intercept the seal, but they get it last second, I was about to say, but Moon has to take the clobber for it. And the 2-tap, and they didn't call it eruption. So, really unfortunate there. The reset does come through, but Dracula has the potential that if he lands his fire pillar so that he recovers from that quite quickly, much faster than from his M1. And I feel like Moon either didn't reach a tile there or somehow ran into a wall or lost his sprint burst off the injury somehow, so he wouldn't get as much distance. Or we Jason just stacked 50 recovery add-ons, which I don't think exist for this killer, but maybe he's hiding something. Maybe that's a secret. Anyway, we've got this classic pop eruption chain with 2 pain reses in the back pocket for Jason. This is extremely difficult for our survivor side to recover from. Another nice stun here by K. Either he's the anti-focus or he's been practicing timing on ping, because these stuns are phenomenal, and I can imagine that other players would get hit by them. But yeah, with the perk loader that he's got in his repertoire, every down he gets is just going to contribute to this pop eruption chain, where he's very fine with leaving his generators, knowing fully well that there's eruption applied to all of them. And if he commits to the down, then, well, first of all, he's going to get the eruption, and then secondly, he can just go back to the furthest progress generator and apply even more pressure. With that pop goes the weasel, and on top of that, he still has pain res if he needs it. If these survivors end up getting a generator further than what he anticipated, to get a hold of the situation once more, to really not allow our survivors to come back from this. So, Dai, I'm not sure what you think, but looking at the perks, hello, K falling from grace there with an unfortunate vault. Looking at the perks he has available and the 2 stacks of pain res still up to, I don't think our survivors are realistically looking at another generator popping. Beautiful here again by Jason, getting the down onto K. But yeah, this is a very dire situation.
It is a dire situation indeed, and if we are doing the calculation on the Mathis, then we are seeing that it needs a lot more pressure on the survivor side. Yes. But where is this pressure supposed to come from? As you mentioned, we have so many regression perks available because Jason didn't pick any chase perks. He was confident that he can get the survivors down with his Dracula, and he's doing a fantastic job in that. The only chance they have at the moment is that K has quite a lot of hang time, so you can get a little bit of time for yourself on the survivor side through that. But besides that, Moon would need to put up an excellent chase here, which she does so far, not taking the injury after the Hellfire. So it is going to be the bad form back towards the generators over here, and in the distance we see the rescue. So the survivor team coming back a little bit as our killer is not able to put the pressure in forms of injuries and downs. Now Moon is taking the injury here, will make it over towards the shack. We have the pallet still available, so it will be a little bit of an extra tricky situation, but the pallet going to immediately be broken, and Moon a little bit lucky here that he's staying alive. Did a good job though. Dracula forced to go back onto the generators here, making sure that we also remove some resources that the survivors potentially use later on, and then back to the 3-gen over here on the left side. 4K on 2 generators remaining would actually be horrible for Team Jinx, because when you are down a set point, you really don't want to have a win condition where the other survivor team can ignore a 3-gen. So I feel like they are obligated to at least finish generator number 4.
We are looking at oh, he gets stuck on the side of the pallet there, really unfortunate. We are looking at a kind of we are looking at attritional warfare, or attritional approach to the game from both sides, where we see each other's sides trying to bleed one another dry. That's very topical considering we are watching Dracula. And Jason is just better equipped for it. Why do I say attrition so much? Because I study history, sorry. And Jason's just better equipped from it. His perks are the equivalent to having more manpower or being just better equipped. Meanwhile, our survivor side don't really, or are slowly but surely running out of the resources they had at the start. They are losing their pallets, their perks have obviously all been used up. The only thing they have available still are their exhaustions, which are not going to exhaust over the course of the trial, and they'll be able to use them over and over. But Jason still has Painless, still has Plop, still has Eruption, and 2 of those 3 perks are never going to run out. It's only going to be the gen kick events on the generator. I think that's the technical term for it, or the exact name for it. Something like that. Everybody gets what I'm trying to say. But it doesn't compare to our survivors running out of their resources, what stages they have to give. And it would be some sort of miracle if our survivors pop even another generator, not even to speak of escaping, because I don't think that's within the realistic scope, but similar to General Hagen on the British side of things in World War I, Jason thinks that attritional warfare is very much necessary, and it seems like in the end he's going to succeed, but at what cost? It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy, and it might exhaust him for the future trials. Having to play for so long and not being allowed to make any mistakes, because any slip up might give our survivors an opportunity to double, even triple a generator if Jason gets lost entirely, that they so desperately need to push towards all generators being repaired and making it even out of the exit gate. Even though the chances are so low, it is Dead by Daylight. Anything is possible.
Yeah, I'm worried for Team Jinx, because what you mentioned was really important, right? Essentially, the hook stages equal time. And when you're running out of your stages, it is very difficult to get your other team members another minute for the gens, another minute for the gens, but they do get the 4th generator. This is such an important generator, because when we are now talking about the upcoming trial, it is not going to be possible for Team Sinnes to ignore a 3-gen and just get 4 random generators out of the way. They need to make sure that they are getting all 5 generators out of the way, and here we can see how difficult the 3-gen scenarios can be on the family residence. That is one hell of a difficult generator setup that we have here on the left side of the main building. Moon doing a good job with the loops here with the Wolfie. So we are actually switching back towards the vampire form in order to get the injury. They are doubling up in the distance, but only 40%, so a commitment is not possible, and Jason realizes as well he might take a little bit too long. And Mathis, this game could now really come to a slowdown, to a standstill whenever the survivors are injured. They are going... Is this the second time that Kay is saying hello to the killer by an unfortunate bolt? I think so. But whenever the survivors are now going to be injured, they are making sure that they are getting towards the bottom side as quick as possible, or just dying behind the main building where the 3-gen is. I don't know how to explain this decision.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty rough to make it out of the 3-gens because it's easier said than done to just not die in the 3-gens, especially since it just takes so much time to constantly go back for the generator to regroup, reset, then slowly push it back into the generators. And it seems like Jason is finally making a breakthrough on the front lines, and he's been able to injure Jinx where it really hurts by eliminating one of their teammates. And now we're looking at a 2v1 where Jason's obviously in the big advantage here. Moon and Dark are now exactly at this point where they will have to try to regroup constantly. Jason cannot find the reset, but again, that's also just so much easier said than done as Dark is spotted in the corner. And I don't think he's going to make it far. No, Jason unfortunately pulls out that ability just, I want to say, a foot short. Doesn't make it around the corner in time, holding up his ability now to hopefully get Dark away from the tile, but he manages to swerve it extremely nicely. And it will once again be Moon now who is Jason's target, his object of obsession to get out of the trial. Both of these survivors are injured. They have 0 time to regroup here. They have to push for these generators, and the chases have to be long. But Jason manages to down Moon right through the wall. His wolf form is just too powerful. We cannot comprehend it. He gets the hit right through the I think that's bamboo. The tiles, yeah, I think you can make it look like wood. I don't want to say it's wood, it's probably a mix. But yeah, that's overanalyzing it as well, who cares? Jason now really trying to find Dark, must be hiding somewhere considering that generator has decent progress. Oh, you already found him. Hiding in the corner, and what's the result we're looking at?
The result we're looking at is a wonderful 4K with one generator standing, meaning Sinners doesn't need to get out. It is enough to triple, quadruple, quintuple if you somehow sneak a 5th survivor onto your side, the final generator, and then you can all get slugged, and then it's fine. So all generators is going to be enough while we are getting another Mori, thank God, in the winter circuit. This is the great thing about having the Moris allowed. We are getting some nice finishes of these survivors. Jason played this really well. I felt like there's the potential, or was the potential, that it is going to be a 4K with 2 generators remaining, but then with the setup, it is rough though, because one of the generators was really far away from the setup that he wanted to save here, and you have to make a decision, right? If you're trying to keep all the 4 generators together, you might accidentally find yourself with a broken 3-gen. So I understand that he prioritized this. I feel like though in an optimal way he could have even done 1 generator better, which is telling all about the quality that Jason has, because he's a fantastic killer player. Also worth noting, Jason was accused for a very long time that he only shows the great performances because of his bad net and the high ping, but he improved his connection, now plays on 40 ms to his own server, and the performance is exactly the same. So
yeah, what now, haters?
Maybe it is time to acknowledge that Jason is potentially even the best killer that we have in the South American community, and definitely a top name when we are talking about comp overall. So congrats to Sinners to setting up a great win condition. We are going to see if they can now finish all the gens. We are switching the sides and we'll be right back.
After an incredible result by Jason in the previous trial, a result that should never ever happen with Dracula, a 4K on two generators from one generator remaining. We now have Mads with the incredible task, with a very tall order of somehow tying the result or even beating it. But yeah, what we've seen so far with Dracula, that should be very far from realistic, as this is a killer that usually experiences getting outed by at least one or two survivors consistently. So, yeah, many would say that Sinners have basically got this in the bag already with a quick 2-0, but we must be aware that this is still Dead by Daylight and anything can happen, especially after we saw what Jinx did on the Survivor side in the Billy set. Anything can happen and anything will happen. And Bucky will be the first one that falls victim to Mads after a successful double pounce around the corner. The Wolf will be able to claim his first victim, and we so far already see a generator halfway progressed that's now been reduced to only a quarter or a third even as that first pain resonance hits, but we already have someone nearby to immediately get that rescue and immediately apply for the people. The altruistic availability by Team Sinners is impeccable here, immediately getting their teammate off the hook. And that is also the person that Mads will continue to go for, because Team Sinners know fully well if Mads fails in securing a quick tunnel out, then there's basically no possible way for our killer to take this back. And if that 3v1 isn't enforced right from the get-go, then it should be the win for Sinners.
Yeah, Elimination needs to come out almost instantly when going into this trial, otherwise you're basically just running after these survivors for way too long. The down so far on Bucky still missing. Expects that the Wolfie would go around and is in time for the vault again into the main building. First generator coming out, the second will follow right after, and even the third generator is already above the 50% mark. This is a great run by Bucky here, doing a really incredible job. Now the down finally coming through, but it is also going to be some extra time until we see the hook stage coming through. So Sinners with a dream start here, and this is now going to motivate them so much going for the 5 generators here. This is looking like a really wonderful performance for them.
They are already making sure that that third generator pops by the time Bucky is hooked, and that is so far 2 stages in contrast to 3 generators completed. It is looking relatively grim for Mads, and it's the pressure is only increasing as he's struggling to get struggling to split the pressure. Also, Jason tries to avoid the dash by going behind the locker, but unfortunately Mads is still going to connect it. And Sweet Child is already 1/4 through that penultimate generator, the generator required to at least cause a tie condition if our survivors fail in repairing another generator after that. But probably looking at only 3 stages, and all that Bucky realistically needs to do now is hide and do a generator that is as far away as possible from the others. It's pretty difficult for Mads to take this back. He needs a fantastic 3-gen if he wants to at least tie it. So really, as Team Sinners already succeeded in ensuring that Bucky does not end up tunneled out this quickly, I wouldn't put it past them that they made sure that their generators are split, and they do have a 2-2 split, meaning Mads has no 3-gen available that he can really profit from. Now, of course, Darkrod still has the ability to traverse the map relatively quickly, but just look at those generators on top of the hill as well. It's gonna take so long for our survivors to get to these, for the killer to get to these respective generators. But he does finally claim the down onto Bucky after he's been able to avoid several of the dashes, but in the end to no avail, as he's now also gazing at the stars. He's trying to find the moon, but he forgot that that player's on his side of the teams and not on the survivor side. And maybe he's already in the sky. He's back in the sky. You know, he finished his... Oh, never mind. He DC'd. Okay. What happened there? Are they out?
Well,
yeah, if the killer DC'd, that's an insta-win. Yeah.
Yeah, the interesting question will now be, is this an intentional disconnect? Is it the internet or electricity? Then the survivors would be immediately escaping.
No, wait, I have an amazing joke, okay? He was looking for the moon, but Mathis was looking up, and just like in Super Mario 64, he accidentally went into the wing cap stage. In the middle of the cut.
No, we'll see what happens. We're going on Please Stand By. We'll talk to Jinx, and we will be right back.
He's going for the red button.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the housekeeping of DBDLeague, and one thing I want to mention first. Jinx did not intentionally disconnect, and we don't believe that they did. This is important for me to say because I've seen a few messages that indicated rage quit, lol, this was too much. We don't think that anything what happened here was unsportsmanlike. So it is important to me first to clear the name of Jinx here as well, because they played a very well tournament. They also came specifically back on the big stage to make themselves a name. And it would be sad if the conclusion of today is they rage quitted, because no one in our team behind the scenes believes that any of this was intentional. So just clearing the name first. Why did it take so long? And together with that, thank you for waiting. It actually took so long because this was, without lying, one of the hardest decisions we had to make. The entire PC of Jinx Killer basically crashed. His monitor broke, the recording went gone because the entire computer shut down. So the question we had to answer was, did DBD crash his PC and then everything went lost? Or did his PC have an issue and crash DBD? The difference is very important, because if DBD crashed his entire PC, it would be a fault by the game developers, and then it would be a restart. If his PC has an issue and crashes DBD, that's the responsibility of the player, and then Sinners counts as escaped. And then we are talking about a replay or a 2-0 for Team Sinners. And this was the difficult decision we had to make without video evidence. But we can also not blame Team Jinx for not having the video evidence when the entire PC crashes and the recording crashes as well. The match official, Scorch, that was in the channel, shout out to them, also indicated that Jinx was very confused what happened, again proving the point that it was not intentionally. The problem is, the later we DC in a match, the more we are taking away from the opponent if we are going for a restart. If a killer DCs after 30 seconds, the survivor team didn't do so much. But here we DC'd so late that Sinners almost reached the tie condition, so the evidence needed to make a restart call is significantly higher. And while we cannot blame Jinx for not having the recording, it did feel unfair to take the dynamic from Sinners when we have a decision that we cannot make with 100% confidence, and we are also setting a standard for the future here. Additionally, as an indicator, the killer of Jinx was moving for a few more seconds before the DC came through, and usually this is what we see when internet disconnect or PC trouble happens, because the server of behavior needs then a little bit of extra time to realize that the player is gone. While when DBD crashes, you are immediately disconnecting, because then it is very clear to the game, okay, goodbye. So this is another indicator that shows us that Jinx Killer had a PC issue and not a DBD issue, which would put the responsibility onto him. We also heard, and shout out to the honesty of the Jinx Killer, that he has PC cooling issues, which is another indicator that points more towards the responsibility of the player. Regardless, this is a call with not 100% evidence and just summing up indicators. However, Jinx took it very well and very understanding. They said themselves, if it would have been the opposite way around, they wouldn't have liked potentially if Sinners would have gotten a restart. They said thank you for letting them play and just left the stage with a lot of honor and without even discussing it. And I think that also deserves a lot of respect because today was a lot on the table. Our call basically just eliminated Jinx out of the tournament. And I apologize that we took 15 minutes for making this decision, but we would rather take another 15 minutes and make a call that is reasonable for us, a call according to little indicators that we have and the information we have, but making sure that it's a fair call at the end, instead of rushing it, coming back after 3 minutes, and then potentially influence the tournament. Very unfortunately, the tournament is influenced by this crash. If it was behavior or the PC of the player will never be 100% known. I hope you can understand our decision. I hope it makes sense that the little indicators more pointed towards an issue of the Jinx killer. And I also think that the reaction of them is something that we really have to respect here. So we hope that Jinx is coming back. We hope they have a great time. They showed us a phenomenal tournament and left unfortunate, but with a lot of honor and with a lot of pride. And yeah, I think I tried to lay everything out. If you have further questions, feel free to join our Discord server and discuss it. But we are now going to move on between Ascent and Synapse. We are going to tell you a little bit more when we are going into the first trial. We need to wrap up the housekeeping here behind the scenes a little bit. So we will be back in just a moment with the third matchup.